And everyone should have all the cards that they need to get started. So Mixed Company is a conversationally engaging card game for 3 to 6 players, ages 10 and up. And we are going to start off today with Nathan, David, and I, Liz, playing a quick 3-player round using all the cards with the expanded rule set. We'll do 3 questions, and provided we pay attention to our time, which, Nathan, do you want to be the timer? Actually, no, Nathan, you're not allowed to be the timer. You're not allowed to be the timer. I'll be the timer.
That's right. I do have a tendency to lose time.
We've been down that road before. Which should...
And it took too long.
which should keep us at right around 30 minutes. So, let me get the timer set up for in a moment. Okay, perfect. So, the first cards that we are going to work with are the conversation guides. That's just for us to keep in mind our general conversation hygiene, which on one side we have take a minute, which is you want to be mindful of how much time you talk, and it reminds us that if someone has been talking for more than 2 minutes in a conversation phase without giving anyone a chance to speak, you can say take a minute, and they have to take a 1-minute break from the conversation. We're not to interrupt each other. If you interrupt another player, you have to take a 1-minute break before you can share your thoughts again. And if you go completely off topic, then someone can call you on that because we're going to stay on the topic at hand.
I can always relate it back.
I know you can. But you'll have to do it, which is also part of the fun sometimes. And no saying anything, no name calling, no saying anything mean to another player. You can make factual observations about their statements, but you may not say mean things directed at a particular person. So, that's just something for us to keep in mind throughout the conversation. Most of the time, this is a problem for adults rather than children, actually, but it's handy to have in place. So, the next thing we're going to do is we are going to set up the game by choosing our questions. So we are going to look at the 3 questions that you have in your hand. And of those 3 questions, choose the one that you think would be the most interesting to talk about. And set it face up in the middle of the table. And then the other 2 will get discarded by David. All right. So now, because there are 3 players who are going to have a total of 6 questions to vote on, we pick 3 randomly from the deck. Okay. And David will read us our questions, please.
Okay, so the first one here. Should kids be forced to hug or kiss relatives at family events? Second, can vampires get tattoos? How old should someone be before they start dating? What is your go-to song when you need to get pumped up? You can transform into any animal for 1 day. Which animal would you be? Females in Hawaii wear a flower over their ear to signify they are single and approachable. Should this be adopted by males and females worldwide?
Okay, awesome. So now we are going to vote on our questions. So everybody has the same 6 vote cards. We'll have 3 yeses. We have 2 no's. And we have 1 veto card. And we are going to vote for 3 questions. So I'm going to come around the table a little bit so that I can reach. And you place your votes face down, just like David did.
And we only use 3 of our cards.
Only use 3 of your cards.
1 time.
I know, I'm just saying.
And you do have to vote, Nathan.
I know, this is the part that always takes me a while, because all of these have great potential, but...
All right, good. So we won't use vote cards. Ooh, interesting. Okay, So the first thing we always do is we take out the veto cards. Anything that was vetoed is automatically out. Then we're going to look and see, okay, this one got a no. And this one had a no and a yes, which cancel each other out. And that leaves us with our 3 questions. We have 1 yes on females in Hawaii wear a flower over their ear. So that'll be our first question because it had the least number of votes. And then we will also talk about, can vampires get tattoos? And should kids be forced to hug or kiss relatives? So I am going to vote that we do them in this order so that we kind of mix it up a little bit. And we have 1 all ages question, then a 16 and up, and then another all ages question to finish it out. So I believe the females in Hawaii came from the deck. So, but the other 2 questions were from you guys, right?
Yes. One of them was mine, yes. So.
Yes, and the second one was mine.
Okay, so I will suggest that I do the lead on the first one.
Makes sense.
And then you'll each take your lead on the subsequent rounds. So, now we're going to use these cards. So everyone has 3 challenges that are pink and have an @ sign on the back. 3 action cards that are purple and have an exclamation point on the back. And 3 trophy cards that are blue and have a star on the back. Now, we want to look at our trophy cards to just see what we have, but we aren't going to use them right now. We'll use them at the end of our questions. And we want to look at our action cards because they can help influence what we want to play on whom. But we won't use them at the beginning of the round. We'll use them during the conversation. Which leaves us with our challenge cards. So I am going to issue the first challenge because I'm going to be the first player for this round. And I'm going to submit to David that he must take a counterpoint.
A counterpoint, okay.
So he has to argue the opposite of what he would normally argue on this question.
And then I have to play a challenge. In this case, on Nathan, because you can't challenge the person who challenged you. And we're only doing a 3-player. I'm going to hold on to that for someone else.
I know what it is. I know what that challenge is.
We're going to have Nathan break it down. So he'll have to explain all of his discussion here will have to be as if he was talking to a very small child.
This is my kryptonite. Okay, well then. Liz, I think that you should make your argument to the extreme.
To the extreme! Nice. Okay. All right. So my argument is to the extreme, which means I have to take my argument to either make very ridiculous points or be satirical. So I'll have to come up with my strategy for my extremism on this particular question. So the other 2 challenges are going to get set aside for the next set of questions. And we will have to try and maintain this for the full 10 minutes. Now, during that time, we're also going to be using these cards. These are our action cards. Action cards are played on another player during the conversation. And you'll see how that goes in a second. But your objective is to use all of them before the end of the game, because any that you keep at the end of the game go as a negative point towards your total. So, I'm going to start the timer.
Should we reread the question real quick?
Yes, let's reread the question.
Females in Hawaii wear a flower over their ear to signify they are single and approachable. Should this be adopted by males and females worldwide?
All right. Start.
This show brought to you by Luton XP.
This show brought to you by Luton XP. So, everybody needs to wear flowers on their head all the time. Because if we would wear flowers on our head all the time, then we could use the language of flowers that comes from the Victorian social scene in England. And there's a whole language that's already established to go with flowers. And so you can take those flowers, you can make a little coronet, you could make a nice earpiece, you could have a hat that's made of flowers, that we could all learn what all the flowers mean, and we could have a whole secret language of flowers. So you would know before you ever walk up to anybody if they're in a good mood, how they're feeling today. Do they want to date you? Are they, flat earthers? Whatever you need to know before you start a conversation.
But then you have to learn a whole nother language in order to understand the flowers.
Well, you wouldn't be able to change them out for each person you meet anyway, so
You would not.
Well, I mean, unless you carried a bag of flowers with you.
impractical.
This is true.
But
That's your problem, not mine. I'm wearing flowers. They're all over the place. They're all the time. Flowers. All the time. Flowers forever.
I think it could be... I could see that it could make it easier when trying to speak with people, when trying to get to, especially when coming up to strangers. If there were certain indications, I'm definitely being hampered by the break it down part, which I am not doing well. If there was a way, if there was a visual... Okay, just going to say I failed this one.
You can do that. That's a valid choice.
I failed it.
Point to David.
Point to David. I have failed that one. Just calling it now, because otherwise I'm going to be stuttering through this next few minutes. So, I do think that there can be value in having an indicator of certain points. Like, in this case, if you're actually going out to try and meet people, especially if you're saying that, hey, I'm going out trying to find someone to date, or I'm out on the prowl, as the saying goes, that having certain cultural indicators that lets a person know, both for men, women, and any gender, that yes, I am out looking to meet people. And even if there's an indicator between, hey, I'm just open to meeting new friends, versus I'm looking for romantic interest, or just I'm not. Even if there's an indicator saying, no, I'm not, I'm just here to get a drink, or something like that, could probably prevent what could be some ugly misunderstandings. So I can see there being value in that. I don't think that there should be any type of mandatory rule. I think that becomes too restrictive. If it's something like you have to do this, and if you don't, then you're somehow breaking the law, or have it be some type of taboo.
Well, I'm curious you mentioned the language of flowers, Victorians there. Is this a universal thing, or is this a, specific cultural thing? For instance, colors. In America, you wear white to a wedding. In China, you do not wear white to a wedding, because white is that's the funeral, drape. Whereas over here, you wear black.
Right. Or red. You wear red in, certain Asian cultures.
Certain
Red has
cultures,
different
so it's like,
significance.
how universal would this, this flower language be, and how robust would you need it to be for sort of thing? Because I've heard of, the flower thing, but, is it a specific flower, or is it any flower, or, is it a specific ear? Like how much grammar do we need to learn to make these flowers, whole flower thing work?
In my world, when it's a whole language, you need to learn lots. Like, you're probably going to have to carry around some sort of app on your phone to interpret the flowers that everybody's wearing, because there's going to be so many flowers that I really hope you're not asthmatic, because it could be a problem.
I mean, at that point, though, wouldn't it just be easier to have an app that does it for you?
Sure, you could take a picture of somebody and the app could interpret the flowers. You have to trust the app builder.
You could skip past the whole flowers and just everyone has an app that, as you walk by them, it, passes information along. We have the internets. And that way we don't have to grow all these flowers.
So give me more details on that. Give me more details on your app.
Well, you go in, you just like with the flowers, you'd set everything up, and you could also customize things, because, like as we mentioned, You create your fancy hat that says, here's how I'm doing today. Halfway through the day, your mood changes. Do you run home and change your hat, or if you have the app in the morning, you're like, here's how I feel. Later on in the afternoon, I'm not feel a little different. Update your stuff. You can set, based on various preferences, set things up to, ping off of different stimuli as you walk by things.
Okay, I'll accept that. So I engage David with my more details card, so I get a point. And David does not get a negative point for not accepting the action.
Because I acted quickly and thought on my feet.
Yes.
Well, and actually, in several games that are set in a future time, current ones of Shadowrun, Eclipse Phase, and I'm sure other games that are set in future times even already have that as part of their augmented reality setup, of where people have, much like some people use their Facebook, where they're saying, I'm tired at the moment, or I'm angry at the moment, or things like that, but where people have their state of mind put up as something that is depicted on a virtual augmented reality
Just
overlay on them. Yes. Yeah. And so as they're looking around, they're seeing the augmented reality overlays off of people and seeing it that way. And if we get to the point where that is as common as many futurists believe it's going to be fairly soon, then that could serve that same type of purpose. And as you say, it'd be much more simple than trying to learn another language. It would just be that everyone's basically constantly got a web page overlaid over them.
And that's still, even my app idea, that's more of a practical, concept over the flowers, but there's still just a level of, it's not invasion of privacy because you're putting it all out there, but it's just creepy to me to glance at someone and have that much information about them if I don't know them beforehand.
Well, I think that goes back to what Nathan was saying, of he doesn't want it to be a rule that you have to do it, because there may be people who don't want to share that much information, and they don't want to put all that out there.
So, Liz,
yes,
can you give me an example of a way that having all this information out there, if people, even if they don't have to, like if it's a choice of whether you are putting, say we're using an augmented reality example, and people still get to choose whether they put their status up or not, and whether they even have an augmented reality page being seen, how that can go wrong.
Oh, well, it could be that there are people in the area around you that prey on that information, right? They choose to take advantage of that information and use it for, profiting for themselves. If they know that you're in the market for somebody to date, they might take advantage of that, or they might use it to try and target you with additional advertising, or it could get used inappropriately by other people. And that would be true of my flowers, unfortunately, too, because if you had somebody who was really savvy with flowers, then they could see that because you had a peony on your head, that it meant that they should try and sell you a timeshare.
Social media is dangerous enough now.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Okay. I'd actually like to add that I think there could also be the very real problem that we still have today, just with the way people, what they choose to wear and things like that, of the forming various cliques and very obvious cliques, as well as the possible
the quality of people's flowers.
Yeah, and the quality of people's pages, as well as what's wrong with those who aren't displaying something.
Yep. All right.
And so,
our time is up. Any question? Any final thoughts?
It's one of those things where I think there can be both, pretty much like everything humans do. There can be pros and there can be cons, depending on how it is treated, and really how we as a society teach people to use it, and reward and punish people for their behaviors.
Yeah.
With it.
David?
I mean, this kind of plays to the fact that I've got counterpoint here, but I mean, to me, if people opt into it, I'm all for it. Like, I mean, all the people that complain about the privacy issues with Facebook, well, you chose to put it out there.
Yeah. Okay.
And it could, as you kind of said earlier, there is the possibility, assuming everyone understands what's going on, to avoid some miscommunications early on.
Yeah. Okay, good. Well, so now we settle up on our challenges. So was I extreme enough?
I think you were fairly extreme. You also brought in some great history lessons.
Yes.
Yeah.
Nathan, you gave up your challenge early.
Oh yeah, there was no way.
That is a reasonable choice.
Yeah, there's
so
no
David
way.
gets a point. David, were you counterpointing?
I was counterpointing.
Then
it's like,
yes.
yeah, I mean, that's what I, kind of there at the end is. It's like all those people who banned Facebook after the or dropped out of Facebook after the privacy issues they had a while back. It's like, you signed up for it. You said, "Here's my stuff." Mm-hmm. That's
Yeah. Okay.
Why are you surprised that people at work also looked at your page when you friended them?
Yeah.
So that's the first round. So now we go to the
also rewards.
Trophies. Oh my
You have trophies.
Trophies.
Okay.
As
Okay.
first
So
player,
I will get to give my trophy first. So we pick our trophy and put it face out in front of you when you are ready. Okay. Okay. So I am going to give best new perspective to David with coming up with the app idea as a additional embellishment on that. I thought that was cool.
And similarly, best new perspective, partially because you dug deep into there for the Victorian language of flowers and
actually, for that reason, I was going to give Liz the best cultural reference
Nice.
for bringing back the language of flowers.
All the time my mother spent with me with Victorian primers comes to give me points in mixed company.
And see, this time you didn't keep it sub rosa.
I did not keep it sub rosa.
All right, thanks for joining us this Mixed Company Monday. We hope you enjoyed the conversation about flowers and how different people use flowers and how they could turn into an app on your phone or any number of other things that we talked about today. So if you want to see the rest of this conversation, if you'd like to see the other two questions and hear what those discussions are like, they were pretty fun. I enjoyed them at least. And just let us know in the comments down below that you want to see the other two questions, and we can do that. We can get them put up for you. So the other thing we want to do is we want to ask you one more question. And that is, do you like to meet up to play games? Because we are going to be meeting up with a lot of people over the next few weeks to play a lot of games of Mixed Company, and we would love for you to be one of those people. So we are going to be at 5 different events at least. We may add in a couple of others here in the middle. We're going to be at 5 different events over the last couple of weeks of July and then all through August. So the first is this coming Saturday, July 27th. We will be at New World Comic Con in the playtesting area. We'd love for you to come out and join us. Then on the 28th, the Sunday after that, we're going to be at Loot and XP for our monthly free playtesting day. Then following that, we're going straight to Gen Con, August 1st through the 4th. If you're going to be at Gen Con, let us know. We'd love to meet up with you, play some Mixed Company. And if you just like watching people go to conventions and see what's happening there, we're going to have announcements and all the different fun stuff that we're getting into at Gen Con on our Facebook page, so make sure you're following that. Then on the 24th of August, we're going to be at MiracleCon, which is an awesome fundraiser for the Extra Life Foundation that helps put money in the Children's Miracle Network hospitals. And then we are, the end of August, the very last day, we're going to wrap up August with Loot and XP for our other free playtesting day. I also want to remind you, our Kickstarter is live right now. So if you've enjoyed what you've been watching, we really want you to get to help us make more questions and participate in helping to build Mixed Company. The Kickstarter is only $12 to get your own copy of Mixed Company for you and your friends to play, and it will be running through August 8th. It will be running through August 8th. So make sure and get on there and pledge. It's www.mixed playtesting.company/KS to get to the Kickstarter. So we hope you've enjoyed this week's video. Subscribe to get the notifications about the future ones, and we will see you next week.